This is going to be going over the limited 5-star hero selector tier list. We have one for current slash returning players. New players don't get this, but you guys get 5 heroes for free. You guys will live. You get Renok, Afternoon Soakflon, Young Senya, Ahmed, and Landy. In the tier list, I'll talk a little bit extra about these characters, just for any new players who want to know what they do. And then, besides that, we do have these, and you can't tell what they are because the icons are the same for normal plus limited, but odds are these are normal, just because they probably would have mentioned if it was limited, because people would have been very happy about that. Okay, move this back here, just so I can remember who the units are, and let's take a look at the tier list. The units not available in the Selector, Secret, Akadi, plus of course Perfume Biblis, who is going to be running, like her banner is going to be going as the event goes on. And then these two probably aren't available, but they've put units up like a bit early sometimes, so I will mention them as well. They're just likely not available. So first up is Renok. Renok is being given to free to new players. Unfortunately, she does not come with her artifact. I forgot to mention, you also get the artifact for Ahmed, Young Senya, plus Afternoon Soakflon. Renox is not included in here, unfortunately, but even without it, she's still super strong. Her base speed, highest in the game, tied with like a couple of people, but it's the highest in the game, so she can speed contest anybody in the game. She can cleave because with Tactical Archetype Collie plus the Villager buffs, you now have easy bridges that work with her, plus they're both speed imprints. Very good job, Smallgate, doing that. And then besides that, her S3 damage is insanely high. Full pen on one target and then AoE fixed damage on the rest of them. Also, her S2, whoever she hits, like you not really steal, but you decrease their stats when you hit them, and then you increase your stats for each unit hit. So she becomes pretty annoying to kill. Like I mentioned, you don't have her personal artifact, but her personal artifact, after she uses her S3, she stuns herself, and that stun will proc the stealth on her artifact, and that stealth makes her a bit annoying to kill because she does get pretty bulky from her S2 effect, or her S2 effect. And then she also gets the CR push from her artifact after she stuns herself. So much cycling, plus her speed being so high, she can get pretty tanky, and her damage is insane. Plus her high speed, yeah. She's a lot of things. Complete menace of a character. Even as a new player, you can just slap your top speed on her and she'll still be decently fast. She's a character who definitely wants speed to play like optimally at the highest levels, but really good character with whatever you'll have. I think you'll get good use out of her. She works fine in Guild War and Arena as well for certain comps. So next up, Diane. Diane, after her buffs, pretty solid opener. She just has the speed necessary to contest units now. You can use her as like an aggressive opener, her S2 team CR push plus attack buff plus a bit of a barrier. Her S3 is a bit more defensive, gives you the pen res plus defense buff. And she can buff stack because she has like all those different buffs if you need her to try and like block a strip and keep your immunity buff. Being a Soul Weaver, she can hold Bird's Eye View, give you souls when she's opening, and you can also run her, like, especially in Guild War, there's certain teams where you can run her slower and bulkier, and then with, like, Unfading Memories or Rod of Amaryllis, just the old healer Diane, pretty much. So yeah, I think really good unit, especially, like, so new players can't get Diane because you don't have a Selector, but if you do not have Imperial Olenav, Diane is your only really other source of Penres through her buff, which could matter a bit for certain Guild War situations on newer accounts. Next up is Festivita. When she gets hit by an AoE, if she takes damage, she loses her stealth, and she procs her S2, cleanses all debuffs, does her big boom boom. She's just an absolutely insane debuffer. AoE, Death Break, Pushback, Strip, Silence. Yeah, really good debuffer, especially when you get the proc on her S2, which also that's what does the pushback, but also you get the big what is it? Extra damage proc AoE based on her HP. You can build her a couple different ways. I think mainly for like Arena Guild War, you can build her slower on like a nuke build. with really high HP and just try and do a bunch of damage with her proc somethings with force proc her like Harsetti. And in RTA, a lot of people build her really fast, guide to a decision for the CR push from the guild artifact to sort of make her an anti-cleave unit. You can also just give her tag of hells for the souls if you want it. So good unit, flexible, has been pretty good since her buffs. And then Summer Hwoyoung, I'll just talk about them, even though they might not be available. Pretty much anybody that gives her Vigor activates her. So a Rom, Moon Bunny Dominiel, notably after her buff, is really good with her, plus Conqueror Lilius, of course. I really like Hwoyoung, especially in Guild War and Arena. So in Guild War, there's a lot of Renock defenses lying around that you can just Argent Waves Hwoyoung plus Moon Bunny. Hwoyoung tanks the S2, Moon Bunny procs, you press S3 with Moon Bunny, Hwoyoung goes, and you just kill their whole team. And then in both Guild War and Arena, some people are just running really bad Harsetti defenses, and they forget that these two units exist. Aram, I guess I'll mention what she does. When she gets hit by an AoE, she'll activate her S2, which gives everybody Vigor buff, and the Vigor buff will proc Hwoyoung. Or the non-attack skill procs Hwoyoung, and then when she has Vigor, she'll take an extra turn. So very, very nice. At Hwoyoung's S3, the Soulburn, you get 10 free souls, either from Bird's Eye View on Beatom, or from a Rom S2. You Soulburn her S3, she does a billion damage. So yeah, Argent Waves Hwoyoung, super, super nice DPS. A Rom, Harsetti counter. Besides the Vigor thing for activating Hwoyoung, her S3, also 100% CR pushes plus skill cooldown resets somebody. So like a pretty common setup is literally just Harsetti goes, Rom activates, Hwoyoung procs, Soulburn S3, kill everything. She pushes up the backslot unit too. Backslot unit goes. Rom has moved up at this point because of Queen's Whistle proccing from Harsetti, or from Hwoyoung. Rom S2 push up the back unit again, and then they attack again with their S3. So like, very nice combo, though of course they like sort of work separately too, because you can Rom with E-Corv, you can Hwoyoung with Beatom. These are two of my favorite characters, honestly. So, next up, Young Senya. Young Senya is a unit that ideally just works with Earth units. When you have an Earth unit in the front, she starts with double the Fighting Spirit, and then if you hit her once, she'll activate her S2, gives her an extra turn, AoE, extra damage based on her HP plus the front unit HP. Also gives like the front unit a bit of additional damage based on their HP. She's pretty much also a Harsetti counter. One fun thing is like if you have Frieren, you don't necessarily need an Earth unit to be in the front. You could put a different unit in the front that wants the HP buff more than somebody like Frieren, because Frieren would boost her Fighting Spirit from the start. But she is very nice in, I think, Arena and Guild War. There's a lot of cases where you end up using her just because you could use like any Earth unit in the front and it works out pretty well. And then in RTA, you can use her in a lot of cases too, not just into like Harsetti, but if they pick AoE units and you have an Earth unit already, especially if the Earth unit's lockpicked, you can pick Senya and kind of see if they're going to ban her or not. So I think she's really, really nice to have. Tori, her recent buffs are pretty sick because the hit chance buff lets her fight a wider range of units. Like the newly buffed ML Bologna, Tori has a pretty good matchup into her, as well as Swift Flagbearer Sigrid, because Sigrid can't debuff her because of her perma immunity, and then she has hit chance to hit the Sigrid. Also, her Cascade being way more consistent is really, really nice. So, really, really strong DPS. Her only weakness, of course, is that she is full single target, but she does such a ridiculous amount of damage. She is also kind of a hair loss character because she is just super, super RNG, and you're probably going to get really, really mad when she doesn't activate. Afternoon Soklon, really, really nice DPS still. There's like not as strong as she was before, but you can still find like places where you want to use her, especially with Harsetti. Harsetti, her S1 just works so well with her. A lot of times in Arena / Guild where there's a lot of defenses, you can just Harsetti Soulburn S1 Death Break, Flan one-shots them, and you're pretty much like good to go. Her main thing is that anytime anybody uses S1, she'll dual attack and do a bunch of damage. So that is Of course, going to synergize with anybody with Death Break on their S1 like Harsetti. And then her S3 is also CR push the whole team. So she's got quite a few things going on. And then Ahmed, opener, there's better openers right now than Ahmed, but I think she's still really good for Guild War and Arena. She CR pushes everybody a bunch, and then with her artifact can CR push one more unit, give them crit damage buff. Her EE makes her give that targeted unit with her S3 greater attack buff as well. She just supercharges one unit a ton, and especially in like the more controlled Guild War / Arena situations, she will let you deal a ridiculous amount of damage. Crit damage buff also getting buffed recently. Now gives 70 instead of 50 crit damage. So yeah, she is the supercharged as one unit and make them kill everything in sight. Next up is Landy. Landy, her biggest weakness is honestly the very, very high investment you need on her, because Wall of Order you want plus 30 or consistency, and when her stealth doesn't proc, she kind of is like not going to function super well. She's just going to die a lot of the times. But she is an lack of AoE Punisher, because if you can't reveal her, then she can very quickly just start running through your entire team. And then these are more like niche picks. Frida, you just don't see her that much anymore. I think you still use her like here and there in Guild War. There's some teams I still just like Muna, Frida, Mudwig, but there's just not that much of a need for Frida anymore. Bellion's not nearly as prevalent in Arena as she was when Frida came out. Lethe, I think, is a fun character. Her buffs are pretty solid. Maybe like we'll see more usage of her, especially in Lunatic, but she's also pretty nice in Guild War in certain team comps, but nothing super amazing, I think. Charlotte, her buffs were honestly pretty good. Just anybody who can like activate her dual attacks, something like ML Payra works really, really nicely with her. These are all like various characters with varying levels of potential usefulness. I think everything in C tier is something that like you could argue is useful. I just don't care much for them. Some stuff here like Caesarea and SSB, I think just requires way too much like investment. You're gonna invest so much in SSB for her artifact just for her to be mediocre. I think it's not worth it. And then D tier is just bad. I'm not even really gonna talk about them. So that's for the limited selector, and depending on how Perfumey Biblis goes, do keep in mind if you own every character, you could pick up an imprint or Perfumey Biblis, or just imprint like one of any of the other limited characters you have.